welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
This is Season 8, Episode 17.
Or Episode 183 if you're counting.
Thank you, as always, to the Patreon contributors over at patreon.com/MarsGirl who make this show and all kinds of other stuff I do possible. In fact, I just got a new review up just the other day. I was talking about it for a while. Konosuba, God's blessing on this wonderful world, is the full English translation of that anime that came out all the way up to Season 2 that came out earlier this year and ended earlier this year. Just finished a review on that. It's up right now for Patreon contributors, so check that out if you get the opportunity. Yes, thank you. What's going on, Josh?
I had videos come out too.
Good, well tell me about them.
Yeah, I got, unfortunately Adobe was being a dick earlier this week, but thankfully we got that all worked out, so I was able to get 2 videos out within about a week.
That's good.
There was my usual installment of Exade Replay, that just went up 2 days ago, and then before that was Heisei Generations, which I'd been, I had a lot of people asking over on Twitter, were you going to talk about it? People in the comments, were you going to talk about it? Well, I talked about it. It's only a third of the length of the movie, so I think it's a ample amount of time to absorb the finer points of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes. Aside from that, I've just learned that apparently now people can subscribe to me over on Twitch. This is
When did that happen?
Like 2 days ago? Yesterday? Something? It was yesterday, right?
Yesterday.
So, yeah, if you're over on Twitch, here I was telling people in our Q&A segment the other day, like, oh, you're not going to be able to subscribe to me. I lied, and apparently now Twitch is allowing subscriptions, so, that's different from following, because now you can pay to subscribe and support me, and along with that, you're going to get special Mars Girl related emoticons if you subscribe to me and stuff.
Yes, now I understand all those pictures you were taking.
Yeah, I need to take a couple more for higher tiered subscriptions. There's levels 1, 2, and 3. I've only got a special emoticon for tier 1. Really dumb faces I was making to make those emoticons. So, thanks Twitch. Appreciate that. My first subscription was actually from our friend Chris.
Yes.
I kind of want to ring the bell here because
let's ring it for Chris.
I've got a notification here showing that he did it late last night. So, yeah, thank you for that. So, otherwise, no worries. We're still going to keep presenting the show for free. So, thank you for watching, as always. Is there anything else? We saw Baby Driver yesterday.
Yes, we did. We saw Baby Driver last night. Edgar Wright's new heist flick. It was pretty good. It wasn't like amazeballs tier like some of the ads were making it out to be, but it was a fairly decent movie.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
I definitely agree with some people that the soundtrack makes the movie because of the fact that so much of it is motivated by the main character constantly having iPod playing in his ears all movie, which is central to his character. But it was very enjoyable. Everybody gave a good performance. Jamie Foxx, John Hamm, everybody in there, Kevin Spacey. But then again, you can put Kevin Spacey in just about anything and he'd be good. I see some people commenting on something that happened here in town, which I read about and I saw your reaction to on Twitter. So, like, sometimes we'll rag on our city. Yeah. Because there's not such great opportunities here, or the weather sucks, or apparently in the case of today, snakes just appear on the road.
Well, I mean, that is not really an accurate description. So the story was...
Kaylin, were there or were there not snakes on the road today?
Yeah, but you're not giving the full story because it's not like they just appeared. So a guy with... By the way, he had like an 8-year-old kid in the van with him too.
Because that made it so much better.
Yeah, so this guy's driving privately owned snakes, tortoises, and a baby alligator in the back of this van. The van has a blowout, and then the van rolls over and tilts. It's on its side, and I was watching the news station's live Facebook feed, and the snakes got loose, and they're like, we've got professionals out here, and we're warning everyone to stay away from the area so that we can collect all of the snakes that have escaped. So now there's like pythons. Okay, pythons are out there somewhere in town, okay? And this is a thing that has happened.
Yeah, so Bad news, there's a bunch of snakes on the loose. Good news, not so many raccoons.
Yeah, well, the raccoons are native. So.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you know, I've seen a lot of them
They live
around.
under our house.
They do live under our house? I found out they're at my grandmother's house now.
Oh, well, that's nice. They found a new place to live.
The rats and the mice needed somebody to co-sign on the lease, so they had the raccoons coming in.
I understand.
Very
Well, they
nice.
had to kick the possums out, though, huh?
Yeah, they did actually. The possums were living in the shed next door, but they were evicted forcibly.
I understand.
It's just a terrible housing situation out there for all the animals. So yeah, that's stuff happening with animals in town, and then one of our malls here, just maybe 2 miles away from us, caught fire randomly.
Oh, that's the second time it's caught fire in like a year.
Yeah, that is the second major fire they've had there. Not too far removed from where it was last time, except this time it was a grease fire they just couldn't get contained.
Well, they did contain it for a while.
For several hours. I was still going through the sentence.
All right.
But, yeah, so if somebody has Sam Jackson's number, tell him to give us a ring because we got a snake situation, just FYI.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a thing.
Is there anything else going on before we describe...
Just quick find Naga. That would help immensely.
Anything else going on before we continue on and describe
I guess
the
we
story?
can start talking a little bit more that it still looks like we're... Oh.
Thank you very much for the subscription, Destroyer Hero.
Yes,
and
thank you, Destroyer Hero.
John, I just got the notification that you hosted, so thank you for that too. So I need to hurry up and get on those, yeah, thank you. I need to hurry up and get on those emotes for tiers 2 and 3, because it looks like you just subscribed at the Prime level, and so you only have access to the first tier emoticon that's just of me making a really stupid happy face.
Yes.
I need some angry faces and I need some confused faces.
That'll be very easy.
Yeah, they'll be I will implement them within the next 24 hours. So
you're going to implement them within the next 50 minutes on this show.
That's entirely possible, yeah. Oh my god, thank you, Excalibur!
Everybody, thank you so much.
Greatly appreciated. Well, this is off to a better start than I expected.
Yes. I was going to say we should briefly mention that from the outset, it still looks like we're going to be attending G-Fest in a couple of weeks.
That's very true. That's very true. In fact, I've been talking with a guy who's trying to set me up with some interviews.
Nice.
These past few hours, I was talking to that guy. So, yeah, super excited about that. Hopefully, you'll see some stuff later on in this next month over on Tokusatsu Network with some interviews from some of the guests. And we're going to see Matt!
Yes, our good friend over at Monstrosities, Matt.
Yeah.
Very big help back when we were filming Farewell Fami Kamen Rider. Good friend of ours, good friend of the show. Oh my god, more
Sandman
people.
Sandman29331. Man, thank you guys so very much. Let's go ahead and proceed with the story.
You guys are subscribing. Let's give you a show.
Yeah, so to talk about what's coming up a little bit later on in the show, we're going to be looking at the Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle trailer that just dropped today. In fact, it had 2 trailers.
Yes, international and domestic.
They're wildly different trailers from one another, so we're going to talk about what we can glean from that, how it compares to other Jumanji properties, and is it going to be a good movie? We'll talk about it.
Yes,
yeah.
Second thing we're going to talk about, of course, a lot of people getting their money ready for the Super Nintendo Classic. We knew it was coming. Now we have a price on it. We know what games are going to be on it. We're going to talk about what we think of those games, what games should have been on there, and what the future looks like for people actually trying to get this one in comparison to the NES Classic.
Yeah, are you actually even going to be able to get it in the first place? And then third and finally, we've got a second trailer to talk about. There was a new Death Note Netflix trailer that dropped today.
A full trailer.
Full trailer, as well as behind-the-scenes kind of commentary from directors and actors and producers. So I think that while it's not the same as Death Note stuff that you've seen before, I think it's very interesting. We're going to talk about why that is, why we think that, why others might not necessarily agree. I'm actually kind of excited to talk about this topic.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty jazzed.
Yeah, definitely. Before all of that, I'm sure you've got follow-ups to share with me.
Yeah, we got follow-ups
Please,
every week.
To be the sharing of the follow-ups.
Yeah.
Please.
But you know how we starting this off. You know how we roll here. Full-blown Justice League, get it up there. Yes. Every day until November, and then we can be done with it.
Thank you.
Yes, so first and foremost, we're going to talk about, of course, our coverage of Justice League until it comes out and we find out once and for all whether or not it sucks or whether they've changed it 6 different times.
It sounds like so far they've changed it 6 different times.
It's leaning towards the latter. So towards that, just today we saw a look at previews for Lego sets that are going to be revealed for the movie. Now, of course, it's been noted over the last couple of years that Lego sets can sometimes give away spoilers for a movie. So we have this one here.
Which, are you telling me this is a spoiler?
Well, it says something. So let's go ahead and pull this up here. This is of the Flying Fox battle against the parademons. I know you guys can't really see it there, but the Flying Fox we haven't actually been able to see yet. We've heard it described from people that are working on the movie as this giant flying vehicle that Batman uses to get the Justice League around from one place to another.
Okay.
This is our first look at it in any way, shape, or form. The other thing about it, notably, is that along with that, the terrain you see, this craggy terrain, seems to line up with the giant battle that seems to be happening in the trailers of the Amazons versus the parademons, and there we clearly have Superman's figure.
Okay.
So more than likely, kind of like a lot of us figured, Superman will be there for the last fight. He better be.
I mean, it sounded really obvious from everything that had been set up before this that Superman is not in it for the primarily the bulk of it. The bulk of the film. However, we guessed early on that he's going to show up near the end, and then, yay, Superman is actually in the Justice League. Go figure. It was kind of to be expected, so maybe as a spoiler, it's not really all that heavy.
Yes, I do want to see what the Flying Fox looks like once we actually get, pictures from the movie, but from the look of it, it just looks like a giant flying submarine.
Yeah, it kind of does, right?
Yeah.
Which would make sense if we've got somebody underwater, and then we've got somebody else who can fly, and...
But we've got somebody underwater, but he didn't bring anything.
But what I'm saying is, you got the best of both worlds. You got a thing that can go underwater and fly, and now they both feel represented flying underwater.
Flying underwater.
Flying underwater.
Okay, that's not happening in the movie, but let's go ahead and keep moving.
Well, damn.
All right, so in related news, over with Matt Reeves, who's going to be the director for the upcoming The Batman, so he's talked a bit about the tone of the movie and what we can come to expect. And he said some words that really made my ears perk up. Noir-themed detective thriller.
Okay, detective is very necessary.
Yes.
Considering our most recent live-action Batman was the worst detective on the face of the planet.
Very true. So the fact that they're leaning towards detective, we might be able to actually see the detective we've always wanted to out of Batman in this next movie, makes me finally feel hopeful again after so many months of reporting on this. In addition to that, there's been some rumors that they will base some of the plot around the Arkham games, which makes sense, because the Arkham games, of course, have been very popular and do a fairly decent amount of detective work in some of them. So we've got that to look forward to there on that end. Over on San Diego Comic-Con news, which of course we've got coming up a little under a month from now.
Yes.
So CW has released their list of panels that they're going to be having there at San Diego Comic-Con, confirming there will be, in fact, in addition to the CW live-action panels, a Young Justice Outsiders panel.
Oh, that's cool.
So that should be happening Friday morning around 10:30 a.m. I will find an excuse to be sick at work so I can run into the bathroom and look at it on my phone.
I see.
So we've got that to look forward to from DC. So let's go ahead and move over to our Marvel coverage. So as far as Infinity War goes, and really leading into the next phase, after Phase 3, Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so they're saying that the sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming, of course Homecoming coming out in just a few days now, they're saying that the Spider-Man Homecoming 2, I don't think that's the working title right now, but you get what I'm saying, that movie will take place starting just minutes after the end of the next Avengers movie after Infinity War.
Interesting. Yeah, very close time frame to one another.
Yes, what they're saying is they like building the universe the way that they've started, where the audience gets the chance to see Peter react to these major events that have happened. So whatever major event happens in that Avengers movie, Peter picks up with it right away.
Okay, cool.
And then carries us on with that. In addition to talking about Spider-Man Homecoming, there's been some news that's been let out from Tom Holland himself, and I love the way you reacted to this. I didn't even have to say the whole thing, and you figured it out. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. So there was a fan theory going around based off a scene from Iron Man 2, where there's a little boy in an Iron Man mask that Tony shows up to and repulsor blasts away one of Justin Hammer's robots. And, Tony's like, nice shooting, kid, and flies away. Well, Tom Holland has confirmed that kid was, in fact, Peter Parker.
Well, that. okay?
Yeah, this kid right here, I don't believe it. Even if Tom Holland said it, like...
Even if it's official, you guys didn't plan that.
No, you didn't plan that. That's
no
retconning
idea.
of the highest order. Because of the fact at that point, you guys didn't even know you could get Spider-Man back. It was going to be years before you guys actually got Spider-Man. Even had the talks that you were going to get Spider-Man back. Like, you guys had some stuff under wraps, but not that far in advance.
No,
so, like, that's just a convenient retcon. Some people are taking a lot of joy in this. I'm just like, come on, guys, really? No. Like, if y'all filmed something and show it in Homecoming to rationalize that a little more, then fine. But don't just randomly say, oh, it's that kid, just because we didn't get to see who was under the mask.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, when you were saying out loud, you said something along the lines of, so you remember in in Iron Man 2 when, and I just interrupted you and I said, oh, tell me he's not that kid.
Yeah, you figured it out immediately.
I was so upset.
Yes.
So some people really like the idea, but unless they can really solidify the idea, it's so dumb.
Yes.
It's so dumb.
Okay, so let's move on to some other news here. Over with Deadpool 2, of course, we're looking forward to seeing what Josh Brolin looks like as Cable. We've got another look at him there in the makeup chair, of course, getting outfitted for a prosthesis. Mm-hmm. You know, he's got that different eye and the scar tissue that he has there, notable for Cable.
Right.
So we're getting closer to it. They have already started filming. Any day now, I imagine, we're going to see what Cable looks like.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, because I think it's great casting, and really right now they're adding to the great casting by making a great casting of his face. Okay.
I'm going to take the picture away just because you said that.
Well, that's good, because I'm moving on. Okay, so moving over to Hellboy. The director's gone on record saying that they're going to make full use of the R rating. Because the source material from Mike Mignola was more bloody, they're going to absolutely display that on screen.
I think that's okay. I think it will be jarring for people who only watched the previous films. But I think, like, obviously you would want accuracy to source material.
Yes.
So it could be okay so long as everything else encompassing it is also equally as accurate.
Yes. So moving on to our sci-fi news over here. So over with Star Trek Discovery. So we were just informed earlier this week that Star Trek alumni Jonathan Frakes, #1, he's going to be directing an episode of Star Trek Discovery.
Well, that's cool.
Yes.
Well, good for him.
Yes. Riker got out of one chair and into another. That's a directing
He lifted
chair.
his leg up and over the director's chair.
He better do that every day on set. Otherwise, if I was working on that and I didn't see him do that, I would be sorely disappointed.
Like, you don't sit in all of your chairs that way, sir? Man, very disappointed. Really, what would be funnier is if he did not actually come into work dressed as a Star Trek character, and instead he was like, I don't know, cosplaying as Xanatos from Gargoyles every day instead, and people be like really confused.
And then there's the one guy on set like, I get that reference.
Yeah. It's like this isn't even remotely the same property. What are you doing, sir?
Yeah, but then Xanatos, it's just him with a
ponytail
and a soul patch.
And a soul patch, yeah. Well, it's not all that different from Riker with beard. Really.
True.
It's really not all that different. He just grew a ponytail and put on a business suit.
And a nice tan.
He tanned kind of nicely, yeah.
And a gargoyle mechanical
Okay, we gotta
suit.
move
on. Let's keep moving on. Over with Star Wars news. So Ron Howard has gone on record as saying he's going to do his best to work with the footage that he was given. Of course, now that he's taken over directing duties for the Han Solo movie that we've got, that still has 3 weeks of filming left to go, and then the 5 weeks of reshoots. Now, there are more and more reports coming out substantiating the claim that there was, in fact, an acting coach called in for the star to go ahead and be a bit closer to Lucasfilm's idea of what Han Solo should be. Mm-hmm. And more of these reports are substantiating that, it happened.
Yeah.
There's no conflict of, no, he said, she said, no, that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it's not as bad in the final cut, but apparently it was enough that people were concerned that they needed an acting coach. Because it's one thing to get one before you start and develop your character. It's another thing entirely when past mid-run they need to call somebody in like, no, we got to save you.
Yeah, I hear you.
So that part makes me worried, but hopefully working with Ron Howard will save everything else.
I hope so too, yeah.
Okay, moving over to some Predator news. So Shane Black's The Predator, which of course had already finished filming, has Jake Busey in it, the son of Gary Busey. What's nice about this movie is the fact that they've gone ahead and confirmed that Jake Busey's character is actually the son of Gary Busey's character that he played in Predator 2.
Well, that would only make sense considering they look very similar to one another.
But I appreciate that there's this kind of lineage thing, like, my dad was hunted and killed by the Predator, so it's my turn to get, you know, revenge on him. Like, that's actually really cool to me.
Yeah. It's, this is a nice touch.
Yes. So we'll be looking forward to more on that. Still waiting for a first trailer there from The Predator, but we should be getting that maybe around San Diego Comic-Con. Who knows? We're waiting on that. Okay, moving on to some Netflix news. So Castlevania is just coming out here in a few weeks, and just earlier today, producer Adi Shankar announced some of the cast for this Castlevania adaptation. We've got Richard Armitage, you know, from the Hobbit trilogy as Trevor Belmont. We've got Graham McTavish as Dracula, and we've got James Callis from Battlestar Galactica as Alucard. As soon as they said Richard Armitage as Trevor, I was like, nope, you got me. I'm watching this.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a way more decent cast than I thought they were going to get.
Yeah, granted, like, I would watch... I almost wish I could see him actually dressed.
No, yeah, like, I would pay money to see him live action as a Belmont.
Yeah.
He's great actors.
It's
so
very unfortunate that we're not getting that, and yet, this is pretty cool.
Still pretty cool. Okay, moving over to our Tokusatsu news. So, over on Q Ranger, we're going to be getting a new hero pretty soon in the form of Ho-Oh Soldier, which translates roughly to Phoenix Soldier. And we have a picture of him here out of suit, showing what the character is going to look like there in Q Ranger. Now, a lot of people have been talking me over on Twitter when I posted about this earlier. It seems to me that Toei is very much channeling a Star-Lord look for him.
Well, with space, so it makes sense.
Yeah, space, that makes perfect sense. You know, kind of a funny series set in space, so that makes sense for me. A lot of other people arguing back, no, he looks more like Dante from Devil May Cry.
Well, I think I see where they're coming from. I see both. I absolutely see both. It's the haircut. It's not the hair color, obviously. But the haircut, yeah, it looks pretty reminiscent of Dante. That and carrying a sword sort of helps solidify that image.
The sword shield combo is reminiscent of Wolzard/Wolzard Fire from Maji Rangers. That's a Sentai throwback. Other people saying, oh, well, it could be a nod to Ryukendo, a lesser-known Tokusatsu
Or maybe he
series.
just looks cool.
Either way, you know, we haven't seen that combination in a while, so yeah, let him have it. We'll see what his character looks like once we see him added to the show, becoming the 12th hero in Q Ranger. And the last thing, we were going to make it a story, but then we found out a little bit more information, so we'll just wrap up here. Toei announced earlier this week that there will, in fact, be an official sequel to Kamen Rider Double. Now, there's going to be more information made available on Monday. They have said as much as that this is not going to be a series, a television series, but it is a direct sequel to that story, to those characters from the series, which premiered back in 2009.
Yes.
More information on that once we get it. More than likely, we're going to talk a lot about that next week. But I'm very hyped to see what they decide to go ahead and give us.
Because it's not going to be anything filmed, so it could be a novel, it could be a comic, it could be something animated.
I've been saying they need to do animated stuff for years now to try and get in a different audience.
I have to imagine that this image that they're choosing to release is some sort of early development artist rendition of what they're trying to tell. So clearly we're seeing Shotaro there.
Yeah, that looks like Shotaro. That's a shot from the opening, you know, where Double's there looking out over the city of Futo. But yeah, I'm pretty hyped for this. This gives me the fizz. I can't wait to see what they give us.
Definitely.
But yes, that's all of our follow-ups for the evening. Let's get right into our first story with Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle.
So what I've grabbed here is the international trailer. Did I get the... No, I got the... Whatever, we're gonna see a trailer here. So it's I have to specify this because both the regular trailer and the international trailer, they start really similarly to one another, but they get really different really fast. I don't even understand the concept at this point of releasing a North American trailer and an international trailer on the same day when they're two totally different. Like, why do you do that? What do you, I don't understand. So anyway, I should actually talk about the movie.
Yeah, talk about the movie.
So, Jumanji is no longer a board game. This is now a video game. I do not know how this came to be. If somebody was like, I found this board game, and now I'm going to turn it into a game. Because, 20 years have passed since the original Jumanji film.
20 years, yeah, thereabouts.
So we're looking at 4 high school kids who have done something, and they're in detention, and they have to clean a basement, and they find an old tube TV and a game console that looks like it's from an Atari sort of era, and yet it's putting out either 16-bit or 32-bit graphics, and that makes no sense to me.
And somehow has 4 controllers.
Has 4 players. Totally makes no sense. Luckily, the beginning of the game starts off exactly with the exact same little monologue, limerick, rhyme thing that the original board game has. And so they pick these characters, these avatars, and then they get sucked into the game, all Captain N style, except they take on their game avatar persona rather than just being themselves in a video game. So, this is Jumanji in the sense that they're in the jungle.
Yes. Now, we were talking about this before the show in that if this movie was just titled Welcome to the Jungle and it had no other connection with Jumanji, then this would probably look pretty cool, and we probably wouldn't be talking about it.
Yeah, it might be an interesting action flick starring The Rock, and that's about it. And instead, I don't think that this looks like it's going to be an outright bad movie.
No.
I do not feel like this looks like Jumanji, though.
Well, because the thing about it is, like, I'm not going to doubt that it's entertaining. They've got a very decent cast. They've got Dwayne Johnson, Jack Black, Kevin Hart, Karen Gillan as the avatars for these kids. That having been said, though, yeah, part of the charm, I guess, of the original Jumanji was the fact that it was just a normal suburban neighborhood, and all of a sudden you see a rhino running by, and a river coming out of nowhere, and vines growing up everywhere, and that's one thing. But if you want to show them in the jungle, really the problem was, remembering the original story there with the character of Alan Parrish, played by Robin Williams, was the fact that he tried so hard to survive the jungle. And here, it doesn't look like they're going to have any trouble whatsoever.
Well, they're going to have trouble.
I mean,
it would be a boring movie if they didn't have trouble.
Not nearly the amount of trouble that Alan Parrish seemed to have.
Well, apparently, from what we're understanding, the character of Alan Parrish is going to get referenced. Like, he leaves clues or something within the jungle. So that's interesting that Robin Williams' character is still going to get referenced. Now, my only issue that I take with the film, really, is that realize Jumanji is a children's book.
Yes.
Okay, Jumanji, like young, it's a picture book with big fat words.
Yeah.
Black and white scribbled images. So the original story, and I read this in elementary school before the movie came out, just because it was one of the things that was actually sitting in the elementary school, like my classroom library. Oh, Jumanji. Oh, these 2 kids are home alone playing a board game and some monkeys come out and they trash the house. Like, to that extent, although the Robin Williams film kind of took it way farther than that. That still held on to, here's a couple of kids playing a board game and then animals come out of it.
Right. But that having been said, you can't argue the fact that the original movie was just a vehicle for Robin Williams, just like this one is a vehicle for all 4 of these actors.
Yeah, that does seem totally clear. But this clearly, I think somebody else mentioned, the original Jumanji film. It's not like it's a great movie, and no, it's not. You know why? Because it's based on a children's book, and to an extent, it was meant for children. Do you think this looks like it's based on a children's book and is intended for children?
No, this is intended for teenagers and people who are trying to get their fix while waiting for the next Fast and Furious movie.
That makes sense. That kind of makes sense. So this doesn't have children. It has underage young adults, but it doesn't have children,
well, yeah, because, you think back on the original, like, the 2 kids in that were in, like, middle school, I think, at best.
Yeah.
And, you've got the one, the little brother who gets turned into a monkey, and then you got Kirsten Dunst. Kirsten Dunst was a great child actress.
That's our inside joke.
That's our inside joke. So. But that having been said, these kids, are very stereotypical kids from around this time period here in the 21st century, let's say it that way. It is worth noting that you were pointing this out looking at, I think it was the other trailer, that the kid whose avatar is The Rock, you look in the background of his room there for a second, and you can tell he's got an Uncharted poster.
Uncharted, and what else did I say? What was the other game that took 10 years to come out?
Last Guardian.
And he's got a poster for The Last Guardian back there. So yeah, this guy, at least he plays real video games.
Yes.
So I'm glad that they noticed that. My concern is how they're going to treat the rest of this as a game. Is everybody they're interacting with, one, is this fake? Is all of this just a video game? Because the way that the Jumanji board game looked, it was like, it made me think parallel alternate universe that just happens to be in a board game. So is this like an alternate universe in a video game, or is this entirely a video game and none of it is actually real? Are all the other characters that they're gonna run into, are they all NPCs? Do they have NPC dialogue? Are they gonna repeat themselves if you talk to them multiple
You're wondering
times?
how much they're going to play up the video game aspect.
Well, yeah, now this is a video game movie. This is why this is important now, is because now not only is it Jumanji and they're in the jungle, now it's also a video game movie, because they also specify, hey, we're video game characters, we have special video game character abilities. So, okay,
True,
you're addressing that you have special moves, special video game moves. Then the rest of it's a video game. How, like, do you have health points?
If I remember correctly, some of the things they commented on is, quite obviously, Dwayne Johnson's character has augmented strength. I think Karen Gillan's character is the quickest of them. The Jack Black character is the smartest of them, so when they have puzzles, he's the one that has to, or she in this case, is the one that has to figure them out. And then Kevin Hart's character is smaller, so he can get to secret places on the map.
But he's frustrated because he was originally a really sporty dude in his actual world, so he's frustrated that he's short and doesn't run fast.
Yes.
Which is kind of humorous. I suppose they made this decision to pair Kevin Hart and Dwayne Johnson together again based on somebody decided they had chemistry before in their previous movie they worked on together.
Well, yeah, because I never saw Central Intelligence, but it looked funny, and it did fairly decently.
Well, my understanding, I haven't seen it either. Granted, listening to us, we have not seen that movie, but my understanding was that it was good enough, but it was like, oh, you see all the jokes coming after a while, so you can get bored.
And that having been said, you know, I'm making the comparison now to round it out. Okay, so we've got a video game where people, if they lose, they die. They were turned into data, essentially, to get into this game. Wait, who produced Jumanji here? Genmu Corporation. We should have known.
So I'm just saying that as a Jumanji kind of sequel, I think Zathura did a better job, even though it's not actually related.
Zathura?
Yeah, Zathura. The space board game?
You mean Space Jumanji?
Yeah, Space Jumanji.
Yeah, it's called Space Jumanji.
Yeah, Space Jumanji.
Yeah.
Even though they're totally not related, they're way more in the same
No, it's
vein.
Space Jumanji.
It's Space Jumanji. And I think they knew that they were doing that when they made that movie. They totally knew. But
no, it was released as Zathura in Switzerland. Everywhere else it was released as Space Jumanji. I don't know what movie you're watching.
Oh, excuse me. So, in any case, I don't necessarily think that this looks like an
I'll go see it.
movie. I do think that maybe it doesn't look like Jumanji, but maybe that's okay. Maybe there's nothing wrong with that. I kind of the way I walked into Jurassic World, I thought to myself, if I can disassociate it from Jurassic Park just a little bit, then maybe I can just enjoy it for what it is in front of me. And I did. I did enjoy Jurassic World because I thought, okay, it's not this thought-provoking piece anymore. It's a monster movie now, and it's an entertaining monster movie. That's exactly what it was. It did its job. So this, I no longer think, is a children's movie about, oh, there's kooky, badly CG'd monkeys are jumping up and down on a cop car, and then they stole the car. Oh, it was so funny. Now it's an action movie in the jungle. And
well, see, part of that for that original movie wasn't just the fact that it was poor CG. It was the fact that you had David Alan Grier there to help sell the fact they stole my car.
Yeah.
You know, he's just a really good actor.
My car, oh my car, yeah.
Yeah.
And they crashed the car, and so yeah. This is not a children's movie anymore. This is more for young adults and young actual adults. So when they say young adults, they mean late teenagers.
Yeah.
So they don't actually mean adults yet.
It'll probably be fine.
It'll be an entertaining movie. I just have to think that it's just called Welcome to the Jungle.
Yes.
And then I think I'm gonna
that's
enjoy
probably
it just fine.
best case scenario there.
Definitely.
All right.
We're done with this.
We're done with this.
Done with this. Let's talk about actual video games.
Yeah, let's talk about actual video games.
Not fake movie video games. So take a look at that. That's a Super Nintendo in the palm of your hand, which we all knew was coming.
We knew it.
Say hello to the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Classic Edition, which is exactly like the NES Classic Edition, except it's a Super Nintendo and not an NES. So, they did it.
They did it.
Good job, Nintendo. It's coming. Is it September or November? One of the two. It's gonna be $80.
In September 29th. So really, just
2
July,
months
August, 3 months from
now.
today.
Yeah, so my understanding is that in other regions, they've already had pre-orders go up on Amazon, and they're gone.
They're gone.
They're already gone. So now Nintendo has said, "Oh, we're gonna work harder to meet demand than we did with the I don't know whether I believe them or not. I really don't.
No, see, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt because surely somebody over there realized, if we had produced more of the NES Classic, we could have made more money. Mm-hmm. And that's just a no-duh decision. Why would you not want to make more money? That's the same thing we were saying before.
I still think they're going to limit the amount that they produce to make it look, this is classic Nintendo. They limit production to make it look like it's in higher demand than it really, and it is in high demand.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just they're also additionally manufacturing demand by not manufacturing.
Right, because if I remember correctly, when we got the NES Classic, that was for $60. Mm-hmm. Here, it's going to be manufacturer suggested retail price $80.
Yes.
Which I would think is kind of fair, but looking at the list of games here, some are expected, others not so much, and then there's some games I'm just flat out mad that they didn't include.
So games that I don't need, that I already, like Super Mario World originally got packaged with my Super Nintendo when I got it.
That's a no-duh.
Yeah, easily no-duh. I played the hell out of Donkey Kong Country all the time.
That's another one.
I recently had to sell, my heart is so broken, I had to sell my cartridge version of Final Fantasy III, which is just Final Fantasy VI, we just screwed up.
3-6.
So this would be a good excuse for me to basically have the original cartridge version of that game again, which is still my favorite. Secret of Mana is a fantastic sell for me. The Super Mario RPG Legend
that
of the
I'm
Seven
surprised
Stars,
they put on there.
Cause yeah, like cartridges without the box of that game to this day still go for like $60. So that's
if you find
like
a decent version,
80% of the price.
Yeah, I was about to say $80. If you find one in box, it's worth this.
Oh yeah,
worth at least that much money. Mega Man
X, yeah.
Mega Man X.
Mega Man X is
never beat it.
A fantastic start to a fantastic upgrade in the Mega Man franchise, easily. So
Super Metroid, I played so many hours of Super Metroid.
So what's really easily will sell this to the most people. All right, so you've got Star Fox, right?
Star Fox was probably the #1 game I played, next to Guts.
But realize you beat even the first level of Star Fox, you unlock Star Fox 2, which, mind you, they completed
and
but
never released
it, and they're gonna finally sell it. They're actually gonna release Star Fox 2. That absolutely blows my mind that this is a thing that really exists. And so to have this idea that they are going to limit the production of the SNES Classic, that makes me so sad that there's going to be, that most people on Earth who would like to play Star Fox 2 you're probably still never gonna get to play it unless you emulate it. And actually, the emulated version has been circling the internet for years now. It just never got it got leaked just years and years and years ago, but Nintendo never sold it. But so now here's your opportunity to actually officially buy it for the first time in existence ever, and that they're totally gonna run out, and that's just so stupid.
Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Because the thing about it is, like the NES Classic, I hope that's not the case. But like the NES Classic, it looks like they maybe will let this run for like a few months, and then that's it. No more. Which is dumb because, I still go to Walmart. You've seen this. You know what I'm talking about. You can still go to Walmart right now, and you can still see Wii games for sale.
That's real dumb.
At list price from launch.
Also real dumb.
Real dumb. If you guys are willing to leave that crap out there that nobody clearly wanted, and people want to give you money towards having the chance to legally play Star Fox 2, why wouldn't you do it? That just doesn't make any sense why you would turn that down.
Yeah.
From a business standpoint, and you guys are supposed to be businessmen. Reggie, come on, talk to me here. What is the rationale behind that?
Oh, yeah.
Because, okay, fine, you get bragging rights for a few seconds. Nobody else is releasing Star Fox 2. It is literally linked to this console.
Yeah.
You have no other competition except your own idiot selves for not releasing it. So just give us what we want. Just sell the thing, and we'll call it Square.
Yeah.
Speaking of Square...
Square...
The one thing I'm mad about, out of all this list... And don't get me wrong, I like most of the games that they put on here. I agree with it. I'm still mad that they did not include, not on the American release or the Japanese release, Chrono Trigger.
A little upsetting, and yet at the same time, Chrono Trigger has been was released on Super Nintendo, on PlayStation 1, on the PlayStation Network, on Nintendo DS, on mobile devices. There's lots of options for playing Chrono Trigger, and that might have affected their choice for what they release. But then again, I can counteract my own argument and say Final Fantasy 3/6
has had that same amount of releases.
Has had that same amount of releases, if not more, because it also came out on the Game Boy Advance. I believe it's come out on PC as well. So yeah,
Steam.
Yeah, possibly on Steam. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't choose Chrono Trigger. I guess this thing's only going to be able to hold so many games, because this has fewer games than the NES Classic did.
That's to be expected. The NES games take up less space.
Exactly, and JRPGs are so big and so long. And yeah, this is graphically, intensively, they're far larger games. They're not huge by today's standards by any stretch of the imagination. You can fit them on a tiny little flash drive. It's not even a big deal. But
and see, that goes back to an argument people were making about the NES Classic of expandable memory. If they had a chance to go ahead and put out, even if y'all wanted to do this, just little tiny DS-sized cartridges with other games on them. Put 3 or 5 games on them. I don't know how much space they would be compared to that, but I know that the technology is available, that they have the capability.
Even a 32 gig little flash mini SD drive would be, you could hold tons of games
exactly
on that. So they're also, as far as the controllers are concerned, they're wired controllers. My understanding is that the cords are a little bit longer than the ones were for the NES Classic. They're compatible with the Classic Controller and Classic Controller Pro that have come out for Wii U. Great. They've got a different port than the original Super Nintendo controller does, but, that's to be expected these days. Nobody's going to be using their old Super Nintendo controllers. But they're also releasing the Super Famicom Mini or Classic over in Japan.
Officially abbreviated as the Mini Sufami. I love that.
Yeah, that makes sense. It totally makes sense. And they have a slightly different variety of games on there, as far as my understanding is concerned.
It's just a few games difference. They're getting theirs a little bit later. We get ours September 29th. They get theirs October 5th.
They've got some Fire Emblem.
They've got some Fire Emblem, some Super Soccer, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island.
Super Ghosts and Ghouls, which I like Super Ghosts and Ghouls, personally. I can understand that North Americans didn't quite have the same reaction to it, so it makes sense to me. For the most part, the difference between the North American version and the Japanese version makes sense to me. But it kind of makes me wish I could grab both. Just to have
now, the funny part that I'm seeing some people point out here is that the mini Sufami doesn't have Mother.
Mother 2.
Or Mother 2, yeah.
Yeah, because the original Mother was for NES. Did the NES Classic have the original Mother? I don't know. I don't remember. But still, it would be so cool to have them sitting side by side.
Yeah.
Mini Super Nintendo and a mini Sufami. That would be so cool. But both of them have Star Fox 2. Which I think is really
important. That's important. The highest selling point, I think.
Easily, which is, I want to wrap it all up by saying, once again, it would be so dumb if you're not providing more of it, because Star Fox, there's no other way to play Star Fox 2. There's literally no other way to play the full official release of Star Fox 2 without purchasing the Super Nintendo Classic. No other way to do it. Please produce enough. Don't do this forced demand, Nintendo, that you love to do because you know it works. Sure, it works, but it also makes people really angry. Really angry.
Because I'll put it this way towards Nintendo. If you guys don't make more of these and you want me to complain at you, which I will, and you still do something stupid and not release these and limit it, then my complaint, please look forward to it.
System available September 29th, 2017. Get in line in your local stores very early.
Now.
With $80 in your hands.
Probably now.
Yeah, so we're done with this for
now,
we're done
with
guess.
That. So let's go ahead and move on to our last story, which is our first full look at Death Note, coming out later this year from Netflix.
Yes. So, I'm going to be saying things that I think most other people don't necessarily agree with, and that's that to me this does look like Death Note, even though lots of other people do not think this looks like Death Note.
Let's go ahead and start by talking about what we were actually given here in this trailer. Now, to start with here, looking at the story, we have to remember this is an adaptation.
Right.
So it's not going to be straight up what the manga was released all those years ago in Japan. Now, we'll bring up this point again that people seem to completely miss out on. If you guys hear complaints about, oh, well, this is totally inaccurate. I wanted a fully Japanese cast, and I want it set in the right country. They already did it twice. There's the Death Note movie series, of which there are 4 installments, the most recent one having just come out maybe a month ago, and then there's the live-action series, which just got done several months ago. They already did it. Calm down. If you want to see that, go watch it.
So at this point, I feel like, you know, we made complaints about, take for example, Power Rangers, okay? I feel like, had they already done the movie that was an accurate adaptation, and then they decided, let's go in a way starkly different direction, then maybe I wouldn't be upset. Maybe I'd be like, okay, there's room for them to take more liberties now because they already did this other movie adaptation. That didn't happen. They made too many alterations to Power Rangers, and they only threw Power Rangers in the last 90%, the last 10% of the movie. This, however, I feel like we've seen Death Note so many times that now I'm like, okay, some change, I understand. I would like to not see the same thing for a 5th time now.
Yes.
And even so, even saying that, I still feel like it looks like Death Note because we've still got Light, we've still got Ryuk, he still loves apples. We still have the Death Note. It still has the exact same instructions. He's still a high schooler.
He still has a god complex.
He still has a god complex.
We still have L. He still feels completely and utterly motivated to take this guy down because he knows that he's morally obligated to do so. We're going to see a cat and mouse game of trying to catch him and keep the secret. These are all the things that make Death Note Death Note.
Yeah, so what I'm looking at is, I can understand some complaints that some people are having that, oh, well, Light used to be this really, brilliant Japanese student, and now we just handed it to some dumbass kid. I kind of understand, okay, we didn't characterize...
I think the trailer only played once.
We'll fix it. We can... Man, why'd you do that? Now you maybe
well, making Light a kid, a regular kid in high school, again, I think that comes with the adaptation portion because you want him to be a little bit more accessible to an audience that may not be as familiar with the manga, with the anime, or with those other movies. So that having been said, all of the casting decisions that I see here are actually holding up. I still see a Light that fully accepts this power that fell into his lap just about. I see an L that's motivated and kind of a little neurotic, you know, the way he's still holding on to sitting in the chair, disguising himself from the mass public.
So I do also kind of understand people's complaints about, well, Light doesn't look like he's directly going after super killers or really horrible people yet. He's kind of low level. He's being picked on by school bullies and punks and stuff like that. And we're trying to make him sympathetic, and some people really don't like that kind of roundabout.
Well, I think to a certain, there's some amount of sympathy that you should feel for Light, but by that same token, at a certain point, he makes that switch in his character to where you're not supposed to sympathize with him.
I always kind of felt like he goes unlikable in the manga/anime so fast. Episode 1, he immediately goes unlikable, and that was part of why I didn't necessarily want to finish the anime when it first came out, because I was like, I'm not interested in this guy. Why do I care about this guy? I guess you could say, well, I hope he dies. Cool. So I had no motivation to finish it initially, but maybe I will now, because
I would recommend it.
I watched like half of it, and I couldn't.
Now, see, the thing I'm wondering about, depending on how they do it, is when they did the original movies there in Japan, they planned them out as several movies. You know, they did the first two, and then there was the L spin-off, and now this one that takes place several years later, after the events of those movies. But they knew they weren't going to be able to tell the entire story in 2 hours. What I'm wondering about with this movie is just how much of the story are we going to get?
Yeah.
Because I do agree with you, that first episode for the series does move very fast. And as such, there does need to be some setup of the character of Light here in this, so that we can see what kind of world he's living in compared to the real world, and what sets him off to want to go ahead and pursue justice by way of the Death Note.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about that I'm wondering about is how true that's going to stay to his character, because that's the thing I'm seeing translate. If you can translate character, then I feel better about what you're changing with the visuals. Now, some people don't care about that. A lot of people just care about visuals, just care about these little things here and there, and you can see it reflected right now if you go over to YouTube and check the comments and the likes and dislikes.
Oh yeah, it's almost half likes, half dislikes right now, which is kind of unfortunate. From what I'm looking at, there are people who are so mad about so many changes, and yet what I'm feeling like what they're really mad about is that this isn't the anime, this isn't Japanese, this doesn't look like Japanese characters, they're not saying and doing Japanese things. We got one person who says, this is what happens when you try to make something for American young adults. It turns into a effing Twilight Divergent type situation. I mean, I don't know, this looks like Death Note to me.
Yeah, because like when you say Twilight Divergent, you mean with teenagers? Like the series?
Like Death Note? Yeah.
Yeah, like that's... I don't understand the complaint there. Now, you were bringing up that
there's people so mad that L is black. So this doesn't... Like, who gives a crap? Okay, because he's still L. That doesn't make any sense.
I'm really looking actually forward to L as far as how they depict him here in this movie, because he looks to still be incredibly intelligent, which is what drew me to his character initially in the anime and the manga. Now, you were saying earlier that there was a small behind-the-scenes thing that they put out.
Yes.
In addition to this. And along with that, director Adam Wingert and producer Masaoka were talking about the tone they were going for this, that they wanted to make this darker and more... what was the phrasing they used?
I don't entirely recall right now, but darker was definitely...
But the thing about it is, going back and looking at it...
Death Note's already dark?
Yeah, it's dark to begin with. I mean... If you want to just talk about visually, look back at the first episode. It's there on Netflix right now.
He already goes Super God Complex mode in episode 1.
It takes him like 15 minutes.
Yeah. They already do the overly dramatic music with crazy camera angles and there's choir going off in the background. It's just ridiculous. What do you mean darker? It's already dark. To me, they kind of look the same, but I will at least say Masaoka... Like, we know he's a nerd.
Oh, yeah.
And the director proved himself in the behind-the-scenes featurette. He watches anime, he reads manga, and he's done so with his brother his whole life. I think he knows and understands the material he's adapting.
Yes.
I think there's plenty in this movie that proves that he already did his research, even if it's different. It proves that it's so close otherwise.
Now, the thing about it is, complain as you will, same thing goes back to when we covered the story before, when we got the first teaser. There's one thing nobody's complaining about one bit, and that's Ryuk.
Yeah.
Because even if he looks just a tiny bit different, and maybe it's just a
so
matter of
little.
math, it's so minute, I almost didn't catch it.
Yeah.
Just the way his body is shaped. I think they actually got a guy...
He still loves apples? I mean, this is Death Note. I'm sorry.
Let's remember here, Willem Dafoe as Ryuk's voice is absolutely perfect casting. Like, it's like, oh no, he absolutely already sounds like that. He sounds like he gargled with cigarettes this morning.
Yeah, of course.
It's perfect. My only wonder now is, because we haven't heard him say his name out loud, my wonder is, and, based off Adam Wingert's testimony there about how much he loves anime and manga, that they're not going to mispronounce his name.
Well, yeah, hopefully it's not going to be an issue where, tons of people in America think that Ryu from Street Fighter's name is Ryu, and it's not, it's Ryu. Are they going to say Ryuk? Or are they... I hope they don't say Ryuk.
No, I really hope they don't say Ryuk.
My hope is that with somebody who already clearly understands the source material, and with Masaoka, who's native Japanese speaker.
Yes.
Alright? They're not gonna screw up Ryuk. We've already got the word Kira, which I have to assume somebody's gonna be like, this is what the Japanese people are calling him, because it means killer, but they can't pronounce it right, so they say Kira. There's gotta be a reason why they start calling him Kira.
They do have to figure out a way to rationalize that, since they decided to keep it.
They have to say, there's a Japanese reason for this. Blah, 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 this is what it is. I am 90% confident they're gonna pronounce his name Ryuk. Maybe not Ryuk. This really, loose
Well, no, if it's
RL
just
thing.
Ryuk, that's fine.
Yeah,
not
I'll
Ryuk.
live with this really native North American sounding Ryuk, even though that's technically not correct either. Ryuk is a lot closer.
Yeah.
But so long as they're not saying Ryuk, yeah, I'll live with it.
Yes.
Exactly.
But I think we're fairly confident standing our ground that I'm definitely going to give this thing a chance. It does not look bad. It looks fairly decent for what it is as an adaptation. If you don't want an adaptation, you have other options. I'm definitely going to give this a shot when it comes out.
Yeah, I will too. I know that's not going to make a whole heck of a lot of sense to some of our viewers. I know that half of the people on YouTube already hate it just for existing. I get that. I wish you would just try it. Don't make comparisons to Dragon Ball Evolution. Some people are already making comparisons to Dragon Ball Evolution. I think that's really unfair, because I think it's really obvious just how far away from the source material Dragon Ball Evolution was. This is miles and beyond closer to its source material than Dragon Ball Evolution ever was.
Because let's not forget here, you couldn't look at Piccolo in that movie and see Piccolo. You saw James Marsters like, why are you wearing like Buffy makeup? No,
Yeah.
like, did y'all? No, somebody here clearly knows what they're doing.
Yes, I would agree with that. So that's where I think we're going to wrap it up here. We can certainly talk about it a little more here in the upcoming Q&A. That having been said, let me just say goodbye to you folks who are only watching on YouTube. Thank you for sticking around with us for this past hour, and if you're with us live, stick around for another half an hour so that we can talk to you during our Q&A segment. You can talk with all these folks right over here. If you're just watching on YouTube alone, thank you for having watched, but
you're not alone, you're with us.
But I really wish you could get down here on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Central Time so that you can talk with us for an additional half an hour, and we'll have a back and forth conversation with you as well as all these other fine people over here, and it's always an additional good time.
Yes, and of course during the week, you can always talk to us over on social media. On Twitter, I'm at Josh Knight First.
And I'm at Mars Girl.
That having been said, that's been this week's episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We'll see you guys again next week.
Bye, friends!
But don't actually go